What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for July 2nd, 2021. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your 4th of July weekend. If you're anywhere else but the United States, hope you're just having a great weekend in general. But yeah, it is a holiday weekend, which may have been why the rating for this show was so down. That and the Stanley Cup Finals. Either way, it was a terrible number. And usually I'm not one to talk about ratings, but you know, SmackDown for a show I typically enjoy in the regular. And yes, we desperately need a shakeup on this show as far as the feuds are concerned and some of the faces and stuff. We see a lot of the same people across the show every single week, a lot of the same segments. Case in point, like with the Liv Morgan stuff on this show, which saw the return of Zelina Vega, which we'll get into, which was probably the biggest talking point coming out of this episode, was the return of Zelina Vega. Despite that one-off return and Edge's return last week, it's been a lot of the same storylines and feuds now for at least a few months, dating back to at least WrestleMania. And with that being said, the rating just continues to drop and drop and drop. Now, would it drop anyway? Maybe. I mean, it's impossible to say, but, an Independence Day weekend, a holiday weekend, combined with the Stanley Cup Finals, combined with just the same fucking matches week after week, made for a very poor SmackDown rating. And the viewership was 1.74 million viewers. And not only was it a bad rating, I believe, from what I had seen on social media earlier today, that it was the lowest rating, the lowest amount of viewership that SmackDown has ever done on Fox. A network they've called home now for close to 2 years. That is fucking terrible. And we are getting to the point where it is doing lower numbers than it was doing on USA Network. And Fox is a far bigger network with far more people watching the show on the regular than people ever were on USA. But we're getting to the point where the audience is being eroded to the point where we're going back to where we were before and lower. We are getting to lower points than where SmackDown was 2, 3, 4 years ago. For a show that has largely kind of remained around the same number, Raw has drastically dropped. Year after year, the number is getting worse and worse and worse. SmackDown, having fans back will be a big boost for both Raw and SmackDown, but I think the damage has been done. And I'm not going to go on a big tangent. I'm not going to go on to a big tangent about how, ratings are everything and how ratings are going to doom this company and stuff like that. That's a whole other different discussion for a different day. It is worth pointing out, though, that for a good show like this, which I'll get into momentarily, despite a lot of the same matches and storylines taking place for the last couple of months, the viewership has just been absolutely terrible. I mean, it really hasn't been that bad recently, but Friday in particular, and again, I know it was a holiday weekend, I know about the Stanley Cup Finals, that's not a good sign. So whether it's a draft to shake things up or really whatever it is, but even honestly, even if they do that, it will not change anything. Or at least not anything long term. How many fucking drafts have we had in the last 3 or 4 years? In 2019 alone, we had 2 shakeups. Last year we had a draft. Or in 2019 we had a draft and a shakeup. 2020 we had a draft. We had the wild card rule last year. We still have the brand-to-brand invitational. And we have a draft coming up likely in the next couple of months. And it really hasn't changed much. It might in the interim very briefly. But beyond that, it's still the same shows. And SmackDown has been a far more easier watch for me. And along with many other people, since they not moved to Fox, because when they first moved to Fox, it was a fucking terrible show for the first year that they were on the network, until like Roman Reigns came back, and they really started to put, in my opinion, a lot more effort into who they focus on, and the storylines, and the matches, and stuff like that. It's been a very good show for the past year, but it's not really being reflected in the ratings more often than not. You'll have weeks where they do 4 million, which was a one-off thing, I understand, like on Christmas night, when it had like the lead-in from the big football game or whatever was going on that night. And they did like 4 million viewers for what I thought was one of the best episodes they ever did. And now you literally cut that audience in half to under 2 million. Under 2 million for a show featuring an Edge appearance and a Last Man Standing match and a Money in the Bank qualifier. What does that say about the state of SmackDown? What does that say about the state of WWE? What does that say about the state of pro wrestling right now? In my opinion, no show has really shown any growth. Some shows have kind of remained the same, around the same ballpark number, but most shows they've had, Raw, SmackDown, NXT with WWE in particular, have seen drastic audience drops. in the last, not even year, but like a couple of months alone. NXT is doing the lowest numbers that it's ever done on USA Network. SmackDown is doing the lowest numbers it has ever done on Fox. And Raw is doing the lowest numbers it has ever done on USA Network as well. Dynamite's kind of remaining the same. I haven't really followed the ratings too much. When they moved to Fridays, then the one-off on Saturday, and now back on Wednesdays. It's been a fucking mess with AEW. I don't know what rating they did on Wednesday. I mean, people don't really pay too much attention to the ratings anymore with AEW now that they're not going head-to-head with NXT. But it seems like they've also kind of plateaued. And they're not going down, which is good. But almost every other company out there seems to. So it doesn't really say a lot about the wrestling industry right now to where, people are tuning in droves to see these programs. And this is at a time where we're getting fans back very soon. Will that change things for WWE? Will that change things for AEW? Will that change things for all these other promotions? It could, but I think the damage is done. You lose some of those people last year when fans go away, and the product for WWE overall hasn't been the best anyway. But you lose those fans that were still tuning in on the regular, and then losing the fans in person was like the last straw for a lot of those people. They're not coming back. There's some people that were tuning in on the regular that probably stopped watching when COVID hit or slowly in the months that followed and were like, okay, this product just fucking sucks without the fans. It really wasn't that good with the fans. It's even worse without the fans. And those people just don't come back. So that's kind of what they need to kind of focus on going forward. And again, I'm not a big ratings guy, but it is concerning when you see numbers like that. It really does make you think when these deals are up with Fox and NBC in the coming years, will they sell? Will they be booted off to another network? I feel like it's a roller coaster ride with WWE. You go to 2014, they were shopping Raw and all their other programming around to other networks and no one fucking wanted them. And then you fast forward to 2018, 2019, they're shopping all these other networks and they sign these billion-dollar deals with Universal, NBC Universal, and Fox, and that's great for them. But they really haven't shown that they're this hot commodity on either network. USA Network, let's be honest here, will probably keep Raw around just because it's probably the highest rated show they have on their network. Fox, they might see SmackDown as disposable when this deal runs up in the next few years and they're not showing any real signs of growth or not even maintaining the numbers they've had. They're just going down. That's not good for them. That does not bode well for their future on that program. So on that network, that is. So hopefully things will improve. It honestly is hard to say whether they will or not as far as like the ratings are concerned, but only time will tell. Now let's get into what you guys came here to listen to me talk about, that being SmackDown itself from last night and not just about the ratings, but I thought that was worth mentioning, although I did kind of go on a tangent about it, so I apologize for saying otherwise earlier. But like I said, I thought this was a good show. I enjoyed it overall. I thought the stuff with Edge and Uso throughout the night was well done. We got a Money in the Bank qualifier, a notable return. So let's get right into it. We opened the show with Edge, addressing his return last week, challenging Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank. This was a rare SmackDown where Roman Reigns was nowhere to be found. And obviously he doesn't compete on SmackDown often, which is good, unless it's like a big title match or something. But he is routinely on the show, whether it be in one backstage segment or in a couple of promos backstage throughout the night or an in-ring promo or whatever. We didn't get Roman Reigns at all on this show. No Jey Uso either. He also has disappeared for the time being, as we addressed a week or two ago. It was only Paul Heyman and Jimmy Uso. But before any of those guys got factored into the mix, we had Edge in the ring, discussing his upcoming contest with Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship and Money in the Bank, saying that he could come out and complain about his match at WrestleMania being turned into a triple threat. And he noted specific examples of when he could have won that match and won the championship had it not been for Daniel Bryan being added, had it not been for Daniel Bryan breaking up Edge's crossface on Roman Reigns, not once but twice, I think. He probably would have won the championship had he connected with the Concerto on Roman Reigns, or maybe he did, and I don't remember, but he hit the Concerto or was going for the Concerto, and Jey Uso cost him the match. He pulled Edge out of the ring. So it happened quite a few times in that match where Edge had the match won. And then, yes, he was pinned ultimately. It wasn't just Bryan. He was stacked up. But he makes a great point. People saying, oh, he lost to WrestleMania. Why is he getting another shot? One, because, again, he never got his one-on-one shot for the Universal Championship after winning the Royal Rumble. And two, Bryan was not unnecessarily at it because Bryan had his reasons for being involved as well. But like Edge is right, he could have won the championship and almost did win the championship on multiple occasions in that match. So it does make sense from a storyline standpoint for Edge to be getting this opportunity at Money in the Bank. He cut a great promo, and he just vowed to win the championship at the pay-per-view. And he even said, like, I could complain about all of this, but that would be 2006 Edge, which I believe 15 years ago today he won the WWE Championship on Raw. Kind of a cool coincidence. On July 3rd, 2006. But he said, no, that's 2006 Edge. I'm 2021 Edge, and I'm just going to go in there and prove it to you why I am better than you and why I should be the Universal Champion. So I thought that was really cool. This was a great promo. And Edge remains, much to anyone's surprise, I don't know, but really to the surprise of hopefully no one, Edge remains one of the best talkers in all of WWE right now. The guy's an amazing talker, and I think this promo really proved that, to be honest with you. So our first match on the show saw Big E and Shinsuke Nakamura take on the Intercontinental Champion Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. They are calling him, I believe, still officially Shinsuke Nakamura. On WWE.com, that's what it says anyway in the SmackDown results. On the nameplate, when he was making his entrance, they called him King Nakamura. Rick Boogs referred to him as Kinsuke Nakamura, which I said last week, I think during my Talking Smack review, sounds incredibly stupid. So hopefully it's not Kinsuke. Maybe that's just the nickname. It sounds fucking dumb. King Nakamura is equally dumb. I hate when they do the whole King Nakamura, King Corbin, King Sheamus bullshit, King Barrett. It's fucking stupid. They look like an idiot. And it never translates to any sort of main event success. Maybe many years ago, not at any point in recent years, so I would just stop that shit. But he did come out with a crown, and Rick sang him to the ring, so that was cool. The match was fine. The big focal point of the match itself was the stuff with Baron Corbin, which he is Baron Corbin now, no longer King Corbin. So, as he was coming down, he came out with the King music, and then while he was coming out with it, they revoked the music. And Greg Hamilton referred to him as King Corbin initially before saying, no, never mind, it's just Baron Corbin. And they took the theme away. And then when he got in the ring, I think it was during the match, who was showing him like, oh, this is what happened to your car. Maybe they just showed the footage and no one actually introduced it. I don't remember. But like they showed his car getting repossessed because he made all these investments as king, and now that he's no longer king, he's basically broke. He's basically broke Baron Corbin. But the new gimmick apparently is going to be him being called Happy Corbin, according to recent trademarks, which sounds fucking dumb. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I might be in the minority on this, and this is coming from someone who hated the King Corbin shit. I am mildly curious to see where this Baron Corbin stuff goes. Like the idea of him being depressed because he's no longer king and he's down on his luck. You know, we don't see this all the time. It's not a completely new gimmick. But for someone like Baron, who's basically been doing the same thing since he debuted 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's interesting. Do I think he could work as a babyface? Probably not, because he's such a natural heel. But this is at least something different. He's not going back to wearing the fucking TGA Fridays vests. He's not wearing a crown on his head anymore, thank God. It is something slightly different, so I am willing to give it a chance. We'll see where it goes. It might not be that good. But you know what? For right now, I think it's decent. I am very curious to see where they go with this. So that was the big focal point of the match. Big E pinned Corbin for the win with the big ending. Big E and Crews still in matches together, and Nakamura and Corbin. You thought that was the end of their feud, that 5th match, hopefully final a couple of weeks ago? Nope, you're wrong, because we're having another Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura match next fucking week. In addition to another Seth Rollins and Cesaro match, with both matches being qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. Now, I was thinking about this after they announced them. What I would do, assuming Rollins is still pissed and whatever, I would have Cesaro beat Rollins, and I would have, there's no way Corbin is so down on his luck and then he beats Shinsuke again. Like, that would be weird. So I am almost guaranteed that Nakamura is winning that ladder match, okay? So Nakamura can, enter himself, or he can advance, as can Cesaro. If that was what's going to happen, assuming that's where they're going with this, why wouldn't you just do Cesaro versus Corbin and Nakamura versus Rollins? If both babyfaces are advancing, then why wouldn't you just do that and switch up the two matches? I don't think we've ever gotten Cesaro and Corbin before, and we've gotten Nakamura and Rollins a few times, but not recently. I don't know. That's what I would have done. And then, assuming that's not what they're doing, then Rollins is advancing instead to Money in the Bank, then I guess what they're doing makes sense. But, like, I am so fucking done on the Corbin and Nakamura shit. The Cesaro and Rollins stuff has got to end. Big E and Apollo have got to stop feuding. Owens and Zayn. It's like the same 4 feuds in the mid-card, and we've gotten that since WrestleMania. We got to move on here. We got to move on, people. Speaking of same feuds on this show, Bianca Belair and Bayley are still fucking feuding after Bayley pinned Bianca in the intergender tag team match last week on the show. She demanded one more shot at Money in the Bank, which Bianca granted, and she said, if the officials will make it official, the officials will agree with me here and have it, then I want it to be an I Quit match. And I was thinking for a second, she was like, okay, she wants Bayley to get out of her head. And this has got to be like a last chance match where, like, if Bayley loses, she can no longer go for the belt when Bianca is champion. That's what they should do. It's an I Quit match. She was like, oh, if I beat you in this match, it's going to get you out of my head forever. Like, what's stopping Bayley from continuing to complain even after losing to Bianca, likely for a third time at the pay-per-view? Like, she was like, oh, you know, I'll race her, eliminate the mind games for good and all this other bullshit. Like, what is stopping Bayley coming out of Money in the Bank from continuing to harass Bianca and ask her for shots of this championship? She did pin Bianca last week, so in a way she does deserve it. But, like, I don't know at this point what Bianca is gaining from beating the same woman 3 times in a row. When Bayley has gotten the better of Bianca at a few different turns on SmackDown, but it's like she was beaten decisively. WrestleMania Backlash I get. Like, she rolled her up, she used her hair. I get doing another match after that. Bayley was beaten fucking decisively at the pay-per-view at Hell in a Cell. Why are we getting another match? Why even do Hell in a Cell? Why even do the Hell in a Cell structure if you were just going to do a third match at Money in the Bank? And they had to know they were saving Sasha Banks for SummerSlam. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to do it at Money in the Bank. They're not. They're doing it at SummerSlam, most likely. They're not doing it at Money in the Bank, so then why the fuck would you give Bayley... I don't know. Why would you have her get beat clean inside a Hell in a Cell match if the idea was always to do a third match of Money in the Bank? It's stupid. But I will say this, I thought it was a good talking segment here, the usual solid mic work from both women. What I do like about this is that it's a stipulation we do not often see in WWE, at least not with the women. I thank God it was not a strap match. You know how many fucking strap matches we've gotten in WWE and AEW over the last year? Like 6 or 7. That was the one stipulation I was so sold on them not doing. I feel like we also get a lot of steel cage matches. Maybe not with the women, but like a lot with the men. I'm just so done with that stipulation. I'm done with Hell in the Cell. They fucking killed the gimmick. I'm thinking when she's talking, oh, maybe she's going to challenge her to an Iron Man match. Because Bayley is 1-0 in Iron Man matches, having beaten Sasha in the first women's Iron Man match or Iron Woman match, whatever, in WWE history back in NXT in 2015. So I'm thinking, oh, that would be a good stipulation to do. And, you know, they're both great physically in terms of, like, you know, they had that whole physical competition during their initial, you know, incarnation of the feud late last year. Like they did that, what was it? The obstacle course. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, like if they really want to prove who the better athlete is, this would be a good way to do it. It's not an Iron Man match, but it is an I Quit match. I'm not a big I Quit match person, but I do like it for this reason. We have not seen one. We've only gotten 2 other women's I Quit matches in WWE history. 2! And WWE has been great for the last, I would say, maybe 5 years with the women in terms of giving them stipulations that we've not seen from them before. For example, we've seen a couple of last women standing matches in recent years with Asuka and Nikki in NXT. They did one at Evolution with Becky and Charlotte. They may have done another one recently. Like, that would have been a fine stipulation, but we literally just got a last man standing match on this show, so they were not going to do that. We've seen women's steel cage matches before, women's ladder matches, women's TLC matches, women's Hell in a Cell matches. They've done a lot of things. They even did an Iron Man match with the women on the main roster back in 2016 with Sasha and Charlotte. And that was another feud where they did it inside Hell in a Cell and they fucking continued the feud anyway, which was dumb. But I do like the idea of an I Quit match because we've only had 3, including this one in WWE with the women. The second one was in NXT UK. So I like how Michael Cole clarified on commentary last night. He noted that this is only the second ever in the history of Raw and SmackDown, because they did do one in NXT UK with Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm early last year, which was a really good match, as you could probably expect. And I think Kaylee Ray, she did win that because it was for the championship and she retained. But the only other one they've done in WWE history with the women on the main roster was in 2008. And they were not doing any special stipulation matches with the women at that point. I mean, maybe bras and panties and stupid shit like that, and, Santa's a little helper matches, which were fucking dumb. But, they gave the women at One Night Stand, and I remember this very, very clearly. I didn't watch the pay-per-view. This was around the time I started watching wrestling. And I remember hearing about that match, and I think, didn't Beth, beat Melina up with, her own foot or something? And I'm pretty sure Beth won. It was for the championship, and she beat her. It was a great fucking match. And I remember going back and watching it years later. I'm thinking, wow, that was a really good match. They never did another one after that. And there's been a lot of great female feuds over the years, but it never really fit the feud. So we're finally getting another one in Money in the Bank with these two. It's a fresh stipulation for the women. It should be a solid match. They work well together. But hopefully this is it. I mean, I said that going into Hell in a Cell, and they did another match. They're doing another match. So you never really know with this company. They could always have Bayley. I don't think they would have Bayley win so close to SummerSlam. I think that'd be stupid. I mean, the money is in a Sasha-Bianca rematch with Bianca as the champion this time. There's no reason for Bayley to be involved. Bayley taking 3 losses on pay-per-view in a row does not do her any favors. I know she's basically bulletproof at this point. She's established. She held the championship for over a year. Great, but does Bianca really gain anything from beating the same woman clean, essentially, on 3 consecutive pay-per-views? Yeah, they were all different stipulation matches, which is nice, but I don't know. I just feel like it's a little weird, so we'll see. Especially if they bring, Becky Lynch to SmackDown and they have her feud with Bayley, which would be fucking awesome. But Becky's going to win, so why would you have Bayley lose 3 times leading up to that? Assuming that's even where they're going. But anyway, I like the idea of an I Quit match at Money in the Bank between these two women. It should be good. So after that, we got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in another gimmick match, this one being last man standing, with the winner qualifying for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. This was awesome stuff, as you could only expect from these two, and it was a bit of a slower-paced encounter than their other matches they've had in WWE and NXT and then in the main roster about 4 or 5 years ago. It was still a great match, and I thought it fit the feud perfectly, because this is not like your typical feud that we've been getting for the last couple of years. This incarnation of the feud has been a bit different with the roles reversed. Sami is the heel, Owens is the babyface. It's been a lot more personal, a lot more hard-hitting, and they had stakes here. It wasn't just a regular last man standing match. Now, I would still praise the match anyway, but I thought even with the stipulation on there, or with the having the stakes, having something at stake here really made the match that much more meaningful. And hopefully this is it for them for a long time. I was going to say foreseeable future, but I'm talking a year or two, because this was a great note to end this feud on for the foreseeable future, for right now, for a long time, because this was great. The attention to detail was really well done. They did a lot of cool spots, went through a lot of tables, paced it very well. I loved Zayn hitting the haluva kick in the corner a couple of times and saying, "This is karma for everything you've done," including to Sami over the years, which he would be justified in saying, because Owens did do a lot of dirty shit early on in his WWE career, specifically to Sami. But that wasn't enough. Owens barely survived the series of haluva kicks by rolling to the outside. So he barely survives. He gets pumped up. He lays out Zayn with a pop-up powerbomb. He pop-up powerbombs him on the commentator's table. He puts him through another table at ringside. And then he gives him a stunner as well. And that sent Zayn to ringside. And then he gives him a pop-up powerbomb on the ring apron, which was such a great finish, because that is exactly how the feud started in WWE back in 2014 when Zayn won the NXT Championship, and then Owens attacked him by pop-up powerbombing him on the ring apron. He also did that to him at many other occasions over the years on the main roster. So I thought that was just really, really well fucking done. And Owens does not really do that move anymore because he's a babyface, so why would he? But him doing it to Zayn was poetic justice. I thought that was perfect. So Owens got the better of Zayn here with the win. He said that was, karma for Zayn. That was karma for Zayn. And Owens picked up the win and is now in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at the pay-per-view coming up. So I thought the match was great. Owens was the right choice to advance. And he has a built-in reason for wanting to win that briefcase, which he's never held before. He has unfinished business with Roman Reigns. And am I personally looking forward to another Owens-Reigns match if that's the direction they go in? They work amazingly well together, but it's like we just got the feud 6 months ago and Owens lost 3 times. So probably not. But it does make sense for him to be in the match. And the only thing I could think of when this match was over was that he has got to go back to Raw in this upcoming draft. And I could see why he would want to cash in on Roman. I don't think he's winning anyway. But, like, he is literally feuded with every top star on this show. Like, seriously, like, he had that whole feud with Seth Rollins late 2019, early 2020. You can't rekindle that rivalry. He feuded with Roman for months, late last year, earlier this year. You can't go back to that anytime soon. Obviously, has been feuding with Sami Zayn ever since then. They've exhausted that option. He's already had a number of matches with Apollo Crews. No reason to go back to that. He even feuded with Cesaro many, many years ago, back in 2015. You can go back to that if you wanted to, but it's like, okay, again, been there, done that. And they're both baby faces anyway. Really, what more is there for him to do on this show? I know he expressed interest in eventually feuding with Daniel Bryan, but Bryan's gone from SmackDown, so that was the one fresh feud left for Kevin Owens to have, and he's not even there anymore. And I know when we spoke, Owens and I, for an interview last year, he was saying, I would love to go back to Raw, and I would love to go back to SmackDown, and he switches shows every single year. I don't think this year will be any exception, because at least on Raw, he has more fresh opponents over there than he does on SmackDown. On Raw, you could do Owens and Bobby Lashley. That's a match that makes sense. Him and Drew have never properly feuded. You could do that. Him and Orton have had a handful of matches, but they've never actually feuded one-on-one. Him and Riddle have never crossed paths before. Him and Damian Priest have never crossed paths before. Sheamus, I don't think Owens and Sheamus have ever had a real one-on-one feud. So, honestly, I would put Owens back on Raw in the upcoming draft. I never really thought about that before, but thinking back on it now, assuming he's not winning Money in the Bank, that might be the best course of action to do with Kevin Owens. Speaking of Money in the Bank, we found out the next participant in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, none other than the returning Zelina Vega, we have not seen on WWE TV since November. Now, it's been reported for a while, to give credit to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, Fightful Select. I believe he was the first to report many, many months ago that Zelina was likely on her way back to WWE. They were having conversations. They had patched things up. It's pretty likely she's coming back. And then they fire her husband. So maybe the deal was signed at that point. And Aleister seems like a really nice guy. I'm sure he has no issue. And he even spoke about this, I saw very briefly on a Twitch stream last night, about Zelina going back. I'm sure, he's in that attitude, well, fuck this company for releasing me in the midst of a push. That makes no sense. But she obviously wanted to go back. He would love to be there. He might be back at some point. And does this, there's a lot to say about the situation. Does this mean Aleister Black could be back at some point? It's very likely, to be honest with you. Especially coming off the same reports also from Fightful, that WWE, as some people felt in WWE, that it was a mistake to release Aleister Black. Well, no shit. It was stupid to release Aleister Black. But at this point, the Zelina Vega departure was different. They fired her over, not just for any real random reason. It was because it was a breach of contract. She signed up for the OnlyFans and was doing the Twitch streaming thing, which quickly died out. I don't know if she overestimated it and thought that she could make a living off that shit. And when she left WWE, I heard no discussion. There was no buzz around her at all. It was just weird. So maybe she tried to go to AEW. I don't know. She had a 90-day no-compete clause. I think she probably was talking to Tony Khan at one point. Someone had said that. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. Just a really weird situation. So they fire her. Aleister is gone from that point. He's gone from TV, but not from the company. And you're thinking, oh, well, they fired his wife. Then he's probably going to want to quit. But that was not the case. He said before that he did not want to quit. He just wanted to go back to NXT. They said no. So his wife gets fired. He's like, all right, I'll suck it up and stay. He doesn't want to leave. He makes the most of whatever they do with him, which is nothing for a while until they finally bring him back. They fire him after one appearance. And then they're bringing back his wife and she officially comes back. Like, it's so fucking weird. And now they want him back too. It's like, it's just so bizarre. The whole thing is just weird. Zelina was very vocal before she got let go in November that she was pro-unionization. I support unionization. She was talking with SAG-AFTRA or whatever it's called. A lot of tweets about that. All of which have since been deleted. I don't know. She hasn't done the Twitch streaming thing in a couple of months. I don't know if she still has her OnlyFans. It's just, there's a lot that can be said about it. Clearly, she wanted to go back. So she's making a good paycheck. She needs, obviously, you need to make a fucking living. You need to make money. You can't entirely fault her for going back. She needs to work somewhere, obviously. I guess the money from the other stuff that she thought she'd be making more from wasn't enough. She didn't want to be let go. Maybe she's coming back with exceptions or whatever to her third-party platform shit, and she can do that stuff. From my understanding, I don't think she can. Otherwise, she would have been on Twitch for the last 6 months, but she hasn't been. Only Aleister Black has been active on her channel. So if she was an exception, then I think they would have, made that clear by now. But I don't think they have, and I could be wrong. I just don't think that's the case. And WWE apologized apparently in an additional report from Fightful that they put up today. They apologized, she apologized. Listen, the third-party stuff, I don't really know if I've talked about this at length before, and I won't get too much into it right now. Say about it whatever you want, and it is stupid. I mean, a lot of the restrictions they put on people and whatever. Maybe they adjusted it so that you can do that stuff, but, it can't be under your WWE name. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But, so anyway, what I was going to say was that, you can agree with it, you could disagree with the whole third-party shit. The fact of the matter is that it was a rule. They literally told people you can't do it. You either deal with it, still work here, can't complain about it, and fucking deal with it, or we're just going to have to let you go. It seemed like they made it very clear. They wanted to make an example out of Zelina Vega. If anyone does this third-party shit, we're letting you go. She did the third-party shit, and she got fired. It's really not rocket science. They should have been allowed to do the third-party shit, I agree with that, but if you're going to go ahead and do it anyway, you can't really be shocked by being let go. And everyone came out supporting Zelina. Oh, we support you in your quest to become unionized. And how fucking far did that go? Did not go far, very, very far at all, because she's clearly back now. I don't know. It's just weird. Also, too, the thing is, for me, it's nice to have another fresh face on the show. Not exactly fresh. I mean, she was around for a couple of years before she got fired, but she was great as a manager. I honestly might be, it's cool to see her back. I'm glad, she's back to where she wants to be, because she clearly wants to be working for WWE. That's awesome. The thing for me, from a booking standpoint, any face is better than no one. If they brought back Eva Marie to SmackDown instead of Raw, say what you will about her in-ring work, but at least it's another face they can work with on the show. Billie Kay, I thought, was terrible in the ring on her own. She really was not that good. But she was another character they had on the show that they could do stuff with. But even Billie Kay might be more serviceable in an in-ring role on her own, in my opinion, than Zelina Vega, who had a couple of matches with Asuka that were so good that they fired her 2 months later. And they literally did nothing with her after that. That's how good those matches with Zelina and Asuka were, which is to say they weren't very good at all. I have never seen the appeal in Zelina Vega as a wrestler. They had a friggin' 3-minute match here, did Liv Morgan and Zelina, because they repeated the exact same segment they did from last week with Liv, Carmella, and Sonya, with Sonya giving Zelina Vega the spot in the Money in the Bank a lot like Carmella, and then Liv beat Zelina in a matter of 3 minutes. It was fucking weird. It reintroduced this woman and then have her lose. But the thing with that it didn't really bother me that much, because she wasn't that good to begin with. Zelina Vega is not like this Rhea Ripley or Bianca or Bayley or Sasha. She's really not that good in the ring. I kind of put her on the same level as Lana. She's probably better than Lana, or Lana was anyway before she got cut. But the thing is, though, is that a lot like Lana, she's a lot better in a managerial role. So much better is Zelina Vega. The problem is, with Andrade being gone, who got his release earlier this year, and he went to AEW, which she clearly apparently did not want to do, and she would rather go back to WWE where her husband was, and he's no longer there. It's just a fucking messy situation. I really, honestly do not get it. I honestly would not be surprised to see her gone from the company within the next couple of years. Like, it's one of those things like we're with Drake Maverick, who I love. I think Drake Maverick's great, and they don't do enough with the guy, especially now that they fired his partner, Killian Dane. Like, they felt bad for him, clearly, and then we're like, oh, we actually do see more value in you, and they re-signed him. And clearly he wants to be in WWE as well. A lot of these people do. You know, you don't want to get released from your dream job. The thing is, though, is that, like, they used them for a little while. They put him in the Killian Dane tag team, and then that was it. They've done absolutely nothing with those guys since then. And I could very well see him getting fired. It's like EC3. Remember they fired him like a decade ago? They brought him back, and he had a more sustained run than some of these other people. They brought him back, and it's like, okay, like, you know, they realized where they went wrong, and they're finally going to do something with him. They never fucking did. They just released him, too. Cassius Ohno, kind of the same thing. It's like, how many times can you go back and forth and get fired before it's like, all right, this company is the problem, not me? The reason I say I would not be surprised if she was gone in the next, like, year or two is because as an in-ring performer, she is not that good. She is great as a manager, but until she's put with someone as a manager or as a talker, she's going to floor. She's going to be the go-to heel women's jobber for that SmackDown women's roster. I guarantee you. The amount of active women on the show went from like 6 to 7 with her coming back. They still got to bring back Sasha, which is imminent, obviously. Sonya's got to get back in the ring, which is hopefully imminent. Zelina Vega is not the answer to SmackDown's women's division issues. It does help to have another name on the show, like a notable name. They need to call up more people. But the problem is that I never see her winning that SmackDown Women's Championship. She's just not that good. She never really has been in the ring. So, I mean, I applaud her for the effort a lot like I did Lana, but certain people are just not championship material. And in my opinion, from an in-ring standpoint, she is not. So it's nice that she's back, but how far is she really going to go? And was it really, I don't know. I feel like they really fucked up whatever they had with Andrade and Zelina because that was just such a money pairing that they completely flushed down the toilet. In WWE, like, I'm not even blaming her. Oh, like, oh, she should have gone to AEW. Like, that's her business, you know? Like, who gives a shit? I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Her losing in 3 minutes doesn't really do her a lot of favors. I'm kind of indifferent on the whole thing. I've never been like I think she's a very talented performer in other ways than in the ring. I think she could be a great asset to any company that she's in. And she seems to be a really good person. I'm just kind of baffled with the whole situation that they would let her go over the unionization thing, which is, you know, they're right. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And then, like, did they apologize for the third party shit in the first place? Like, if she was still doing what they told her not to do, then that's on fucking her. Like, maybe they should have suspended her. I think that's probably what upset people the most. I mean, the fact they fired her was kind of shitty, but, like, maybe give her a warning first or suspend her for 30 days. Like, and then it's like, all right, if you don't knock it off then we're letting you go. I think what's kind of rubbing people the wrong way is that she was all out and about, oh, unionization. Spoke all this shit about unionization. Literally stirred this shit for nothing because she deleted all the tweets supporting it and then went right back to the company that is still not supporting any unionization or not giving you benefits. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird fucking situation. But yeah, Zelina Vega is in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Liv Morgan still is not, for those wondering. She probably will be. Honestly, this could be leading, on a side note, to Liv Morgan winning Money in the Bank. And I don't know if I would be opposed to that, honestly. Like, she's another one where she's not great in the ring as Liv Morgan. I've never seen this breakout Liv Morgan match, although she did have a couple of decent matches last year with Asuka and Natalya. But she's a fresher face. They fired Ruby Riott. She's decent enough to where I would like to see her get a shot. And her against really any woman on that roster would be a fresh feud. Unless they do her and Carmella for like a fifth time, then like who cares? But, you know, it is somewhat new to, have her in that role, in a prominent role in the show. It's honestly been refreshing to see her in a prominent role on SmackDown in recent weeks. They don't really have a choice because they fired all these other women. I don't know if I would hate the idea, though, of her winning the briefcase, because if you really look at the rest of the field, Asuka, no thanks. Been there, done that, no thanks. Naomi's really the only other option I'd be happy with, because she hasn't been in title contention in a long time, and she could use it. But like Nikki Cross with the superhero shit, I just don't care. I just think it's stupid. I really hope she doesn't win. Alexa Bliss is probably the odds-on favorite to win. Again, been there, done that, and also with the current character, I just think it's stupid. I think her portrayal of the character is great. What they have her involved in is terrible. I really don't want to see her win, but I'm assuming that she will. Carmella's in it again. Who cares? And then Zelina Vega, no thanks. So I honestly, Liv Morgan might be my favorite to win, if not Naomi. I think Naomi's more ready for that spot than Liv, but Liv's a fresher face in the title picture, so I wouldn't really be opposed to that. Maybe that fourth spot goes to Sonya Deville. Like I said that last week, maybe Sonya puts herself in the match, she costs Liv the match or whatever, and then we kind of go from there. But, that's an option too, so we'll see where they go with it. We had Otis versus Angelo Dawkins on the show. I don't know if we were supposed to get it last week or the week before, but they finally did it here. Decent little match. Otis has officially cut his hair, in addition to the beard. The beard's been gone for a few weeks, but he's officially cut his hair, and he just looks bizarre. Maybe it's because we're so used to him having long hair and him having the long bushy beard and whatever. But even with the short hair, he just looks weird. But yeah, he was super intense here. He was super aggressive, and as I've said before, I think heel Otis could have some potential. Maybe not as a world champion, obviously, but the whole Alpha Academy thing has been working out well for him. It feels like he's been better booked lately than he ever was when he was Mr. Money in the Bank last year, which is kind of weird, but he's been doing good stuff recently, and I'm on board with the whole Alpha Academy Street Profits feud in the meantime. It keeps the Profits, on TV, keeps them relevant, gives Otis something to do, gives Gable something to do. They need more tag teams on the show, obviously. We haven't seen the Mysterios, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, by the way, in a couple of weeks. But, it's something. It's something. So I'm glad it's keeping them busy, and the match here was decent. We get to the main event segment, Jimmy Uso calling out Edge, which Edge eventually answered the open challenge of sorts. It wasn't a match, but they just kind of attacked each other. Edge got the better of Jimmy Uso, laying him out with a spear, really just beating the shit out of him the same way that he did Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, sending a message to Jimmy, to Paul, to Roman, that the same way that he had the championship won at WrestleMania, he's going to have it won when he goes one-on-one with Roman at Money in the Bank. So, good segment to close the show. I thought it was a good show overall. I had a lot of thoughts, obviously, about the show, so I apologize for my lengthy review this week, from the ratings to the whole Zelina Vega stuff. But Vega coming back was notable. The last man standing match I thought was great. I'm done with the same stagnant feuds. Bayley and Bianca, it's time to move on. Owens and Zayn, hopefully this is it, time to move on. Cesaro and Rollins, time to move on. Big E and Apollo Crews, time to move on. Nakamura and Corbin, time to move on. It feels like and even Roman and Edge has obviously been done, but not one-on-one, so I'm okay with it. But it feels like we've had the same storylines on the show outside of everything involving Roman Reigns since WrestleMania. That's just wild. And it's fucking July. It's not even like it's April or May or even June. It's July. Oh, man, we got to get some fresh feuds in soon. But, yeah, good show. Not a great show, but I enjoyed it, and the 2 hours flew by per usual. Thank you guys for checking out my lengthy review of SmackDown this week for July 2nd, 2021. I appreciate your support of the show. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe for more daily content. We got more exclusive interviews in the days to come. One with Titus O'Neil. That should be coming up in the days to come, probably either Saturday, or today is Saturday, tomorrow or Monday or something like that. Eva Marie on Monday, so stay tuned for that. So we got Titus O'Neil and Eva Marie coming here to the channel in the days to come, so check out those exclusive interviews. Be sure to check out all the other daily content that goes up here on the channel, from Q&A videos, Wrestle Rant Radio excerpts. We got our Raw Talk reviews, Talking Smack reviews. That should be up tomorrow. My review of the China documentary, anything I watch on Peacock, all that stuff. So Loki was as well. We break down Loki every week here on the channel on Fridays. So at any rate, guys, have a great 4th of July weekend. I'll probably just be, hanging out with family or hanging home or whatever. It's not supposed to be great weather here in the Northeast on Sunday, unfortunately. But hopefully you guys enjoy the weekend, American or not. Have a great weekend, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.